So, Scott, shall we carry on? As the saying goes, the one who fools the world for being dumb is the one we should watch out for.
Well, certainly fooled me. If we must go on, I suppose the only way out is through. So, Showgirls 2, of all things. Now, to be clear from the outset, I wasn't expecting Showgirls 2, Pennies from Heaven, to be good, but I just had to find out if it was somehow worse than the Verhoeven Esterhaus perpetrated dumpster fire that we had our last episode. But it is very much worse. So, curiosity satisfied, I suppose, but that's really the only satisfaction that you'll be had from this film. Do you remember Penny from Showgirls? Of course you don't. But she was there, played by Rena Raphael, languishing somewhere towards the end of the credits roll, and here, some 16 years later, she exhumes that character to tell her story, also directing, producing, writing, and editing that story. So it really has all the ingredients of a best of the worst contender, apart from, well, any entertainment value whatsoever. Now, there is a plot in here, somewhere, meandering around for the 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours that this stretches on for. But giving you any real details about it will just make it sound like I've been gargling LSD. So on a high level, it is about Penny giving up her life as a stripper in the hope of rekindling her dance career, heading off to Vegas to do so. On a very broad level, she's trying to get into the cast of a popular dance TV show with very similar plot beats to the first film, which is a pretty questionable decision in and of itself, with dancers betraying each other to get ahead and also being sucked into a world of vice. Except this also heads off on weird tangents, like the nightclub hosted by the dude dolled up like the devil, or the pointless visits to a pawn shop, or the frequent application of Vaseline to teeth, or Penny's maid who cleans in a soft porn outfit, or the attempt at erotic hot dog eating, or when the murder case that Penny's arrested for is solved by the soft porn maid who's also a criminologist. It might be possible to make sense of this, but I don't want to.
So before you go on, Scott, too, he wasn't dressed as the devil. He was the devil. Because you're forgetting the supernatural elements in this film for some reason.
Yes, I am trying to forget that, yes. and all the rest of it. Rena Raphael claimed that her Kickstarter trailer for this was shot on 35mm film with an Arflex camera and planned to do the rest of the film that way. However,
sorry,
5,000...
Scott, I'm sorry. Did you just say this was a Kickstarter?
Yes. It explains a lot. And
no word of a lie. If I'd known that, I wouldn't even be here for this.
And that $5,108 didn't buy a lot of 35mm film by, apparently. And while I wasn't on set, so I can't really confirm this one way or the other, I'm fairly sure this was actually filmed on a potato, with the audio captured by a slightly less capable potato, which rather hinders any attempt at comprehending this film. It's just as amateurly edited and shot, and also manages the remarkable feat of having less competent and less erotic dance numbers in the first film. The script is a mess.
That is a feat.
The script is a mess, the dialogue is awesome, it is awful, sure, it's supposed to be awful, but this overachieves on the awfulness to the point where there's just no joy to be extracted from it. It's just embarrassing. Look, I don't begrudge this film's existence. Raphael clearly saw the So Bad It's Good revival of the first film and saw a vector to grab some of that sweet ironic hate watch dollar, and with perhaps a bit of restraint and ideally an actual microphone or two, some of the least awful ideas and lines could have made for an 80-minute novelty that would satisfy those poor misguided appreciators of Showgirls. However, the end result here is that most unloved of creations, an intentionally bad film that's going for the irony but is also so badly made that it's just a miserable watch for all concerned. We watched it so you don't have to, so really, don't.
Yeah. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen, yet I enjoyed it considerably more than I enjoyed Hollow Man 2. I found this passed more quickly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Were you near a black hole or something?
I was very perversely entertained by this. As I said in my introduction,
Quantum.
it really is.
Quantum. No, sorry, really Eastern mysticism.
It really is something that would make Neil Breen blush. What it actually made me think of was...
Stop talking about Neil Breen. Why is he a touchstone all of a sudden? Shut up.
Oh, one must keep one's eyes on Breen. Yeah, this is more of your Vitali Versace level film, is what it made me think of, except that Vitali Versace obviously knows how to pronounce that name and doesn't think it's Versace. It came out just because it was so mental. I never had any idea what was going on. It opens with a horror music and some images of some lamps. Okay, then a clown. Sure, why not? Then one of numerous repeat returns from Showgirls 1995. The guy who picked Elizabeth Berkley up in the car at the start. In his apparently $1 million Porsche, and then he takes her to
news to Porsche.
Takes her to the middle of the desert, and then says, "We'll go into this building and get a seat." It's apparently a barn, and then he goes and leaves her. Then.
This is great because this is affirmation that I didn't just imagine.
She makes her way to Los Angeles from Las Vegas via somehow getting an enormous amount of money from some celebrity impersonators, because there's apparently a huge amount of money in the celebrity impersonation racket.
Wait a minute. You've taken a huge sidestep there, Drew. You have negated translocated trailer park murder?
Yeah, that's where she gets the money from.
Oh, right, okay, sorry. Yeah. You can tell at which point I stopped watching this film.
Yes, the celebrity impersonators who... One of them kills the other two, and then the other one dies inadvertently at Penny's hand. And then suddenly there's an awful lot of money because this celebrity impersonation racket is like just very lucrative. She makes her
My favourite bit about the money is she has this bag full of money and uses it as interchangeable units of money. So she's got a roll of what seems to be about $100,000 and just throws it going, "Around for the bar." It's like, there's a massive wad of cash.
Yeah, makes her way to Los Angeles, where she meets a guy who uses his mobile phone like a walkie-talkie and has a half chest size special police badge on. It's so mind-bending. Is that just like bad filmmaking? Is that meant to be some sort of joke? I was like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. So it's what kept me going, because not more than 2 or 3 minutes would pass any point until I went, what? Who? Like, for instance, the bit you mentioned, Scott, where she goes to the club that the devil is hosting. And then she sees a woman murdered, because snuff films are a part of this as well, because, yes, why not? Then Penny goes to help the murdered woman, suddenly reappears in not a demon dimension or something, says, "I was a concerned fan," and suddenly, for some reason, her dress is full of carrots, and she has a radish in her hair, which for some reason described as a turnip.
You guys are making me wish that I'd stayed with us longer before I locked my iPad, man.
It is so, and the dialogue is a thing to behold. We have more simple things where it seems there are elements to it that suggest that Rena Raphael understood the first film, and then other times but did she? I'm not so sure, because for instance, there's a plot point with Kyle MacLachlan's character, the first one, about him having, a scene where he talks about having an MBA, but in this it's a BA, because she didn't hear properly and didn't know what the difference was. And then we have wonderful lines like, "Stop showing up, announced." No, I'm not misspeaking. I'm quoting directly. Yes, "Stop showing up, announced." That's terribly formal and polite. And we get told that they could fry an egg on my asphalt. I wish I knew what that meant. And then incredibly serious tones when we're told, "Gotcha, my paperwork is not in order." And I saw this show from my stripper room. This is a part of real estate that I didn't know was a thing before. I shall look out for in future listings.
I'm really worried that I bailed on this at the wrong time, because I know what you're talking about when you talk about the guy who's basically Satan.
Yep.
But I also have no idea what you're talking about when you say a dress full of carrots.
Right after that, so her dress is full of carrots. Like that. After that, see, after the woman's murdered, and she goes.
I don't
to
remember a
help her.
woman being murdered, but I remember the guy
Yeah,
essentially being Satan.
Yeah, it's in that club.
This is at the 30-minute mark, right?
Yes, more or less.
Yeah, that's where I bailed.
This woman gets prawn. She's, I don't know, she's a porn star or a Playboy model or something. I'm sure there's some reference to that there. She gets stabbed in the stomach. Then she goes over. Penny goes over to attend her, and suddenly she wakes up, and it's not in the demon dimension anymore. And her dress is full of carrots, and she's got a radish in her hair. It is mental. And this is, it's like, it was the devil because there's a witch subplot. The strange maid, porn star maid, with the comedy magnifying glass.
The criminologist degree, yeah.
Yes, a cartoon magnifying glass, who later on says, "Human trafficking, blood-sucking, pimp-ass witches. Oh, I'll put an end to them if it's the last thing I do. Goddamn witches." And then, of course, there's suddenly character development where we find out that Penny had a twin sister. She died in an accident. A bubble bath accident.
What?
Yes. I'd like to say that this was a fever dream, but I've been feeling quite well of late, so I don't think so. I think this all happened in this film.
Right. So the problem I have is that I gave this film 25 minutes and then I gave it another 5 minutes because I'm a nice guy. So literally, I got to the point where she's freaking out, and sort of a Hall of Mirrors thing where she's at that club or whatever, and then the guy suddenly appears to be Satan, because I feel like I know what you're on about with the guy being Satan, but I didn't get as far as the dress full of carrots. But the problem I have with this is that you've inadvertently sold it to me, Drew. And I have
sorry.
I have just checked my iPad, and of course, I realise now that half an hour into this film, I went, "Oh, that's right. Life is happening all around me, and I'm not paying attention to it right now." And I've deleted it, so I'm going to have to re-torrent this film, because let's not lie, none of us present on this podcast tonight obtained this film by legitimate means, listener. I'm going to have to torrent it again, because you have weirdly sold it to me, Drew, as being a better film than it presented itself in the first 30 minutes. This is bizarre. As I recall, because I'm not going to pretend that I was legitimately engaged with this at any point in the 25 to 30 minutes that I watched it, okay?
Why would you?
There was a point at which I think this outright parodied Mulholland Drive.
The certainly Mulholland Drive road sign very prominently displayed for 30 seconds or something, yeah.
Big kind of exclamation mark. I'm like, all right, okay. So I feel like I want to say I get it now, but obviously I don't have the context of having watched the whole film. At that point, I'm like, oh, I see what you're trying to do. And it was attempting to adopt this sort of dreamlike approach. And I'm like, oh, you're parodying Mulholland Drive. And from that, I'm going to take that you're actually being self-aware. I get it now. You're actually trying to be funny. But 5 minutes later, I had decided I'd had enough, and I deleted it. I wasn't going to spend another hour of my life invested in this, but now I am conflicted because Drew has done a fantastic job of selling me on why this would appeal entirely to my sense of humour. I really wish you hadn't said a dress full of carrots, Drew.
I knew nothing about the film other than Scott had decided for some reason we should watch it. And,
right, you and I both. Yeah.
And I worry about Scott, but I kind of wanted to be there for him because I'm a good friend. So, I thought I would go through this with him.
We need context for our intervention, right?
Yes. So I had no idea. And I saw that it was listed as a comedy. And I thought, right, I don't think there's any of it that I found funny that was meant to be funny. I'm pretty confident of it, because the things I was laughing at was like the ridiculously fake blood across the necks of the people that got killed, the celebrity impersonators, things like that.
Yes.
And I only laughed a handful of times. But it just kept me engaged because it was so mental. And like, it's so badly made and disjointed, and you mentioned like it's meant to be like dream logic, so I guess maybe, but also I don't know. And like the maid, the Sherlock Holmes maid with her cartoon magnifying glass, she finds for some reason the word blot written on, or brots written on some stones, and that's how she knows it's witches. And then underneath a pile of straw next to the rock is a box in which is a wine glass covered in fake blood, a Barbie doll sort of thing that's meant to be Penny, I guess. And there was another thing. And then she runs to this woman who's never been seen in the film before, never been seen again, with a guy next to her sweeping up the porch. And she goes, I need to see this person who's also never been mentioned before. Oh, you've just missed her. And then she reopens the box, and now the doll is turned into a shoe. Now the doll is turned into a shoe. And like, it's just, it was so mental. It kept me absolutely captivated, because I never knew what kind of craziness was coming next. And don't get me wrong, like there's a song over the end credits where the lyrics are, there's got to be something better than this. I'm like, yes, everything is better than this, yet at the same time I still found it entertaining in the most perverse manner.
I think you've gone mental. I thought this was boring as hell, and I could not be bothered to follow a bit of its weird pretzel logic thing that's going on there. I didn't find any of it funny. I didn't find any of it interesting, even the bits that were kind of... if I'm being generous, it was sort of intentionally going for that kind of vibe, but I just don't think it did a particularly good job of it. I was bored all the way throughout, and I hated it, and I hate myself, and I hate everything.
I really
just
to be clear.
Just don't. It's awful. No. Very bad. I did not get anything approaching any sense of joy from this at all. Like I say, with if this had been cut down in half, it could have been a sort of vaguely interesting novelty. But no, just a big boring stretch of nonsense, and didn't like it at all. Nope. Just nope. Don't like it. Nope.
Can I just point out also, I was stone cold sober while watching this, and it still had that effect on me, so I'm slightly concerned.
Yes.
I was stone cold sober also, Drew, while watching this film, but I'm not now. And I'm really worried about the effect my interaction with you guys is having these days. Because I can't seem to approach some of these things without a hefty quantity of mind-altering drugs. Anyway, have I pitched you my script for Showgirls 3?
Please do.